Welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. We do have some breaking news that we want to get to, as Jimmy Kimmel will be back on air starting on Tuesday. That after ABC and Disney pulled him from the air, suspending him indefinitely for his comments made about the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. Back on air, Jimmy Kimmel will return to air. As you can see this, a post from TMZ saying Jimmy Kimmel Live is coming back to ABC after this suspension. So obviously there are lots of conversations we did watch unfold even on Hollywood earlier on today, calling for Jimmy Kimmel to be reinstated, and that is happening right now. And in a statement from Disney, they said, quote, "Last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation, an emotional moment for our country. It's a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and insensitive. We have spent the last days of thoughtful conversation with Jimmy." So, of course, after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. So some big news in terms of this, as the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, said it might have to take the easy way or the hard way in terms of regulating some of those comments by Jimmy Kimmel. But big news that the comedian, the late night talk show host, is back on air starting on Tuesday. So less than a week since he was pulled from the air for those comments about it. We heard lawmakers in Hollywood today comment on what he said, of course, calling on the reinstatement of Jimmy Kimmel. So some big news in terms of that here on Live Now from Fox about that late night show host. As you can see, also saying this from Elizabeth McDonald, say Jimmy Kimmel is returning to a show tomorrow night. Disney still says his comments were ill-timed and insensitive. But big news and rocky start to the week for Disney in terms of their stock, talking about potentially Disney being boycotted. We'll see if it's somewhat of a reverse, if it is instead not the left only dropping Disney, but now the right for bringing Jimmy Kimmel back. All right, following it all closely here on Live Now from Fox, let's sign away for another quick 2-minute break. All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up here in about 15 minutes or so, we're expected to hear from President Trump alongside HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about a major autism announcement. So just a live picture there in Washington, D.C. at the White House. And sometimes some of these events, there are a variety of different questions being asked, especially on the international front. Other top headlines, including the most recent breaking news developing story that Jimmy Kimmel will be back on air on ABC in his usual late night talk show slot. And this comes after that suspension by ABC and Disney, as they said it was still ill-timed and insensitive, his comments about the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. And I do want to put up just some of this here on Live Now from Fox, a statement from Disney talking about the return of this, saying last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming the tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It's a decision we made because we felt some of his comments were ill-timed and insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return that show coming up on Tuesday. So some big news in terms of this, as free speech advocates speaking out about the censorship they felt was taking place with Jimmy Kimmel and some of these comments, saying the lawmakers, including their Brad Sherman in Hollywood, talking about it was not a joke, was not saying anything about Charlie Kirk in particular, saying it was obviously against the president instead. So following this closely here on Live Now from Fox, and obviously a lot of new developments. We'll hope to hear from our Fox 11 team about those developments here, and we potentially could hear from the president himself if he was asked on a question there inside of the Oval Office, inside of the White House.